Welcome to Somatic Yoga with me. I'm Megan McCarthy, and today we're going to explore fluid core. So my definition of core is not just your front body, but everything that supports your spine. So think all the way from the base of the spine to the base of the skull, from top to bottom, and the entire circumference of your torso. In fact, I often interchange the word core and torso because to me it's somewhat one and the same. Our core is in our torso. And if you do have a slo-mo ball or one of these balls, I'm going to encourage you to use it at the end. So grab that. We'll also be doing a couple of things seated. So if you know you're not comfortable on the floor, grab yourself a chair. I have a blanket down because we're going to do a lot of rolling. So I like the extra padding when we're rolling around. So you can do that as well. So we're going to start by exploring core through breathing. It's actually my favorite way to do it. And you can do this part lying down or seated. So, check your energy levels. If it's morning and you need to energize more, you may want to sit up, and that could even be in a chair. If you feel like you want to relax a little bit more, then lie back. Generally, when we look at doing pranayama or breathing techniques lying down, if you're new to them, they're going to be more available, accessible on the ground. Otherwise, and that's more relaxing. Otherwise, when we choose to be seated, we might have more ability to direct the breath, but we want to know that we can sit comfortably and without fighting our lower body. So find that position for yourself. And just noticing your breath, however it is first. And that is your first taste of the fluid. The fluidity of your body through your breath. If you can breathe in and out your nose. Just noticing what that feels like. Feel the temperature of the breath on the nose. Maybe there's even a taste to the breath. And then we're going to be a little bit more specific. So we're going to go down into the lower part of the core first. So if you'd like to use your hands, you can place your hands on your abdomen. So what we're really doing is full diaphragmatic breathing, but we start from the abdomen. So hands can go on the abdomen or just sensing your abdomen. And what we want to feel is as we breathe in, the abdomen fills and rises, either forward if you're seated or upward away from the body as you're breathing in. As you exhale, there's this soft contraction as the abdomen draws back in towards the front side of the spine. And going nice and slow, anytime we take a pranayama practice where we're changing or manipulating the breath, if you don't feel comfortable, then go back to your natural breathing anytime. So breathing in and out of the belly. So this is familiarizing ourselves with the low abdomen. And you may even feel movement through your side body and your hips or even in your back. Just familiarize yourself with this part of your core through your breath. Generally, belly breath is used more to relax us, so starting from that space of relaxation. You should be able to have a smile on your face. We'll take about 5 more rounds of breath. And see if you can go into your full expansion and just a slight active contraction on the exhale. So fully inhale. Feel that inspiration, that fluidity of the inspiration. Even pause when your belly feels full and stretched. And then complete exhalation. Draw the navel center in as if you're squeezing every last drop out. And you can even pause at the bottom of the exhale. The in and the out of the abdomen. All right, even though it seems like it's our abdomen that's moving, it is moving, but it's because of the engine of our breathing, which is our diaphragm. So changing hand positions if you're using your hands. Take the heels of your hands and place them on the outer rib cage. So if you're on the ground, your elbows can still rest on the floor. So not in the center, but slide them so your elbows are resting. If you're seated, you can take your elbows back slightly and put just a slight bit of pressure, the heels of the hands into the rib cage. And now see if you can breathe into the hands with the rib cage. Think all 360 degrees around the ribs. So this is right where the diaphragm is. And we're not restricting flow or movement to the abdomen. We're not restricting flow or movement to the chest. But we're feeling ourselves breathe from the center of our being, from the center of your core. And sense that fluidity. Is there an ease of movement, or does anything feel catchy? Nice full expansive inhale and a slow release valve on that exhale. You don't need to count your breaths. You're just noticing what your inhale feels like, what your exhale feels like. Remember, always the opportunity to go back to your natural breath. So for most people, we don't typically breathe to this area. So if it's new for you, just stick with what you got. But if it feels okay, ask yourself to expand this just a little bit longer, a little bit fuller. Last 5 breaths. So really feel that whole circumference of your rib cage expanding outward. So it's more of an outward movement now, outward and upward really. And then exhaling inward and downward. So not only the diaphragm, but we're using the intercostal muscles between the ribs. We have 2 sets of intercostal muscles. One set draws our ribs upward on the inspiration, on the inhale. The other set of intercostal muscles draws the ribs in and down on the exhalation. So this is part of our core. And you might feel it all the way around through your backside. Familiarizing yourself. What kind of fluid movement do you have just from your breath, through your respiration? And then you can relax for a moment. So we did the abdominal cavity, the diaphragm itself, and now we'll go into the thoracic or the chest cavity. So if you're using your hands, I have a microphone in the way, but you can place your hands right around the center of your heart. Or the other way I sometimes do it is fan your fingers across just barely touching your collarbones and let your hands rest on your chest. So see where it's comfortable for you, more center of the chest or upper chest. You can do one on each, but focus on the chest cavity now. And see if you can find that same fluid movement through the chest. So sensing the area around the collarbones. Again, more of an upward lifting. Think of how the belly was, if you were lying down, the belly was going upward away from the spine. The chest is lifting up towards the head. And then coming back down. Notice any movement in your upper back, around the shoulder blades. Keeping your face soft and your throat relaxed. Notice how it feels just to breathe into this area. And if it's okay, if we don't feel any anxiety or our heart's not going any faster, then expand that inhalation a little bit more. So think of stretching the tissues of your body through your breath. And then exhaling, letting it all the way out, complete exhalation, right? So we can bring fluidity and motion to the chest area, to much of our torso just through our breathing. Last round of breath. And let's see if we can put that all together. So this is full diaphragmatic breathing, and if it doesn't feel right, just focus on one area. If you want to use your hands, your right hand could come down to your abdomen, that first position. Left hand might be somewhere up at the heart. And now see if you can breathe all the way. Abdomen rises, or abdomen comes upward away from the spine. Ribs and chest go up and out. And then slow exhale all the way down. This is your fluid core. Like the breath is just swimming in a sea of you. Feel the tissues of your body moving just from your breath, this longer, fuller, deeper breath. Always the option to return to your natural breath if need be. Notice the little things, the temperature of your breath, when it touches your throat. Can you feel it move the ribs, the sides of the body? Any movement in the backside. So when we have tightness through the front of the core, it generally will limit our breathing. So we're finding some range of motion through the front of the core, just through our breath. Let the breath be the first guide. Take your last few breaths, noticing how this feels for you to do this full diaphragmatic breathing. You feel peaceful? Do you feel more at ease? Do you have more awareness of core all the way around your torso? And then let your hands come down. If you did choose to do that seated, we're going to come down onto the ground. If you're down there, I'll catch up with you. Going down, take yourself down onto your back. So this core exploration will be a little bit of ooey gooey movement and a little bit of let's feel the muscles kick in and strengthen. So we start on our back in constructive rest pose. So if you lift your foot up in your leg to 90 degrees and drop down the leg, you should be about there. So the hip, the middle of the knee, and the ankle are in line, and your heel's right about underneath your hip. Excuse me, heel's right underneath your knee. Make your spine long. You might even lift your pelvis and reach it slightly forward. So we're going to start with pelvic tilting because that's going to wake up those abdominal muscles. So go back to the abdominal breathing we did in the very beginning. But now where we use that before just to feel the movement, now we're going to use the abdominal breathing to move to, but also to find more engagement, can't speak today, engagement on the exhalation. So if you want, you can place your hands there. I'm going to move mine just so you can see. Pelvic tilting. As you inhale, the tailbone presses into the floor and the low back and the lower ribs lift. So that's that belly stretching. And now you really notice it's lifting up, like it's lifting your low back off the floor. And then as you exhale, let the low back and lower ribs come down and slightly draw your navel center in, lifting the tailbone just a little bit at the end. Find that rocking motion. Inhale. And then exhale, draw in. So imagine the abdominal area like a clock face from the navel center to the pubis and the two hips. So you've got those 4 points. And as you exhale, it's cinching in towards the spine. It's like everything's drawing into your belly button. It's getting suctioned in. So we're waking up those lower abdominal muscles. Think of it like a corset across the front of your hips. We're feeling the contraction on the exhalation as low back and lower ribs come into the floor. And then release those and let them fill and stretch on the inhalation. I'll do one more round here. So this first movement is pretty patterned. They won't all be today though. And then coming back to a point of rest. So we're going to add on to that. So that was really just more the abdominal area. Now we're going to start to feel the muscles in the front of the core up through the ribs and the chest. You're going to take your hands, make your hands into a basket and place your hands behind the base of the head. Let your elbows fall open. It's going to be the same movement, but let's add the arms in. We'll do just arms first. So sense where your arms are. Now as you breathe in, press your elbows in the backs of the arms into the floor, and you'll notice how you'll get a little arch in the upper back. So your shoulder blades might lift up slightly. So pressing arms into the floor on the inhale, you'll feel a nice chest stretch. So just like the belly was rising, now the chest is rising on inhalation. And then as you exhale, squeeze your arms towards your head. You can keep your head down if you'd like. on the ground or on your hands, but squeeze like you're pulling your collarbones towards one another. So contraction through the front body and the upper back stretches. Inhale, press down. Exhale, squeeze in. So what you might find as you're trying to do just arms is it's hard to do just arms because the core is fluid. So what I find as soon as I start to do my arms, I go back into the pelvic tilting. So as you press your arms into the floor, you might automatically feel your tailbone roll into the floor and the low back lift. So there's the arch through the whole back and spine. And then as you exhale and draw your arms in, the tailbone wants to lift. There's that curl into the floor of the whole spine. And see if you can find that. So this is a tongue to tail movement, the whole core. On the exhalation, the front of the core is contracting, the back of the core is stretching. On the inhalation, the front of the core is nice and spacious and the back body is contracted. If this feels okay and you don't have anything in your neck that would be contraindicated, then leave your head heavy in your hands, and as you're exhaling, you can lift the weight of your head, chin towards your chest. So then you'll feel those muscles in the sides of the neck tighten too, right? Because your neck muscles are part of your core. Your neck is part of your spine. So you can use your arms, but tuck the chin towards the chest. I get really close to the microphone. Lifting, and you might even take your head back a little bit. And squeezing. Keep the legs relaxed. Really think of moving from the core. So I'm squeezing my arms just a little bit, but doing that to feel the muscles through my chest, my upper back, pressing the arms in. Move at the pace that you're comfortable with. And if you want to stop anywhere, so you might take an inhalation, breathe into the arch of the back. See how much space you can create in the front body as you breathe in. And then exhale. Just release that space. We can do the same thing with the movement of the exhalation. So as you exhale, lift the tailbone, press low back, low ribs into the floor, lift the head, and squeeze that front body. So imagine shortening the space from the pubis to the chin, or maybe pubis to collarbones. Squeeze that front body tight, breathe there, so you still gotta breathe. And then completely release that. Let go. We'll do one more round, either you're still moving through it or in holds. So if you're doing the hold, press arms into the floor on an inhalation, roll onto the tailbone, so arch the back away from the floor. On this one, focus on that inhalation. Notice all the space you've gained in the front body on that inhale because of the position of the spine. The spine is positioned so you can create more space on the inhale in the front body. More stretch in the ribs, more stretch in the belly, more stretch in the chest. Exhale, release all of that. Now take an exhalation, lift tailbone, press low back, low ribs into the floor. You can either leave the head down or squeeze elbows and lift head. Tuck the chin towards the chest. So your weight's resting more on the center of the back and spine, and the shoulders and the bottom of the hips are lifted. Squeeze the front body, feel space through the back body. And as you exhale, focus on drawing that front body shorter from the pubis to the collarbones. And then slowly release that all the way down. You can take your arms out of that position. All right, hug your knees into your chest and rock a little bit. Let's lengthen the core out in a full body yawn. So reach your legs long and your arms up overhead. You might find that you're arching, and let that happen initially because that's what your body probably wants to do. But keep reaching and see if you can, on an exhalation, press the back into the floor a little bit. So create true length, not the arch in the length, but length. Press low back, low ribs into the floor. Reach and lengthen through the sides of the body. If you want, you can clasp your hands into a basket and turn the palms towards the back wall, press through your heels. So use your arms and legs to lengthen your whole torso. Think of creating space into the core with arms and legs reaching in opposite directions. One more big breath in. You're tightening the muscles in the arms and legs, but lengthening through your spine. And then exhale. Let it all go. All right. We're going to roll onto our side because we're going to find some undulations now. So remember that this is an undulation that we were doing, but we're going to take it on our side. So I'm going to roll onto my left side first so you can see me. When you get into this position, I happen to have a blanket here. If you find you're not comfortable using your arm as a pillow, then you can bring a pillow in, but try to keep your neck in a neutral position. So if the pillow is too high, you're going to be up here with the right side of the neck shorter than the left. So you'd want to try to find neutral. Otherwise, you can use your bottom arm as a pillow. So starting with the spine in more of a neutral position. As you exhale, same thing we did before, think of drawing your knees in and your shoulders towards your knees and round your spine. Your knees may or may not move. And then inhale, bring your heart forward, your chest forward. And exhale, round. So it's just these little undulations, and I am really overdoing it because I wanted you to see it on the camera. Your movement, the legs may not move at all. It might be just your spine. Inhaling and exhaling. If it feels good to pull the legs in, you can draw them in and press them away. But think of this as core fluidity. Your head can move too, right? So in yoga, we do a pose called cat-cow. So the exhalation is the cat back. The inhalation is the cow. And that's basically what we're doing. But you're doing it in the way that feels good for you. Fluidly moving back and forth. Your head can move too, remember. Just see, is it just the pelvis that moves, just the head? Can you move the whole center of the spine? You're rocking yourself. And then stop and pause and round your back for a moment. Just be in that round space. Take a few breaths into your backside. Front side slightly closed off. And you might rock yourself. Just a gentle rocking. All right, and then we're going to take the legs. You can keep your knees stacked if that's comfortable for you. So we're going to move into this side body more. So to try not to use our arms and legs, you might place your right hand on your rib cage, on your outer ribs right here. And now on an inhalation, lift your right ribs into your hand so your bottom ribs will lift up off the floor. So lift right ribs on an inhale. So this is going to be a lateral movement. Think of a fish. Lift up on inhale, and as you exhale, gently press the lower ribs into the floor and draw your right armpit towards your right hip so you can shorten that side body. Inhale, lengthen the right side body and shorten the left side body. Exhale, shorten the right side body, lengthen the left side body. So think of your spine going in a lateral bend side to side, or I like to visualize a fish in the water and the way their spine moves laterally. And it's coming from my core, from my torso. My legs, I try to keep my legs relaxed. Wherever your arms are, that it feels relaxing for you. Fluid core in this side body movement. Be a fish. Invoke your inner fish. Can you keep the arms and legs relaxed? And this one too, I tend to move in and out with the breath, but you might want to find a space to hold. Inhale, lift the right rib cage, lift the left rib cage. See how much space you can create through that right side, how much you can contract the left side, and breathe into that. Send all of your inhale into the right ribs, the right lung, and exhale.
Keep lifting up through the right ribs. Notice how spacious. And then when you're ready, exhale, let go. Fall into the floor. You could do the same with the contraction state. So as you exhale, draw your right armpit towards your right hip. Squeeze them together. So imagine a string from the hip to the armpit. Squeeze them. Sometimes it's helpful. This one I like having my hand overhead. This one I take my hand down here, like my hand's kind of sliding, but I'm doing it from my rib cage. Shortening your rib cage. Notice what it feels like to be contracted through your side core, through that right side. Squeeze, squeeze. So shorten the distance from your hip to your armpit. And then let that go. And usually after those holds, I like just a few more, just movement. Because that's what we're meant to do, is move. All right, so fluid core likes to rotate too, so that's what we're going to do next. You may have that blanket underneath your head, because now if you've been using your arm, you're going to want to bring that left arm more forward. So either head needs to drop down to the floor, or use that blanket underneath your head. Once again, I encourage you to move from your core. So just place your right hand anywhere in the center of your torso, your belly. You can keep your pinky finger on your navel center, arm completely relaxed. Knees can be stacked, and my knees are right about the height of the hips, or thigh bones parallel to my spine. They don't have to be though. Play with that. Now as you inhale, think of your core rotating to the right. Exhale. Rotate all the way back. Rotate your whole core to the left. Inhale, rotate core to the right. So arms are relaxed and legs are relaxed. They're just going along for the ride. Exhale, rotate to the left. Remember, your neck is part of this, so you can turn your head towards the right shoulder at the top of the inhale. Roll your forehead onto the floor on the bottom of the exhale. Just torso. We're exploring that fluid movement of torso. Arms relaxed. The movement keeps coming, or anywhere you want to stop. Sometimes your body just needs to be still and land and feel, so you can stop. Feel the rotation. Visualize your spine rotating from the tail to the tongue. Where do you feel the tissue stretching? So where's your skin stretching? The space underneath your skin. So we get that very first layer of fascial tissue, a nice little stretch. Muscles underneath. If you held it one way, come back. You might want to hold it the other way, rotating the opposite direction. And then from the side, we did 3 different movements. We did that arch and curl, or undulation of the spine, so that's front to back. We did a lateral side bend, right? And then we also did a rotation. And now I want you to play with all of those movements. And this is where I encourage you, don't look at me, because I look weird anyhow, but it feels really good. And just move from your core. You can laterally bend. You can rotate. You can undulate. Any way you want. Go at a speed that feels soothing for you. Just keeping your arms relaxed. Although if at any point your arms are like, woo, so this is your free play, right? This is like, just let your mojo work. If you find an arm wants to reach out and respond, or a leg, I get that all the time, then let that happen, right? Your torso is moving, and your arms and legs may respond. And remember, torso all the way from the base of the spine to the tongue. Imagine if you were in the water, just floating, and there was just a really gentle wave. Not enough to flip you over, just enough to move you around. And that wave is you. That water is you in your body. And close your eyes. I find that, especially when I know I'm being filmed, if I close my eyes, there's just more of a juiciness, more of a truthfulness in my movement, because I really don't care what it looks like. I just want to know, what does it feel like to feel fluid through my torso, through my core. You find any spots you just want to be still, you can. Or if you start to get dizzy or your mind gets anxious, just stop and be still, and then we ground. You could bring your awareness into your feet, or think of your bones. Feel the heaviness of your bones. Sometimes we're surprised by what this kind of movement can stir up in our body, and just know that at any time you can stop moving, come into your bones, feel the weight of your bones, feel your feet. And if you're still moving, go ahead and do that, and just pause. All right, so you're going to be rolling onto your right side. I'm going to switch so I can see you, but you can roll through your front or your back. No written rules. If you want to roll onto your back and you want to hug your knees in, you can do that, or take a full body yawn. Rolling onto your front side, you could shift your legs from side to side like windshield wipers. Fluid core. It seems so simple, and the movements might not feel like they're big, but you'll find that we get stuck here. Our arms and legs are moving more than this area of our body, and we get very mechanical with our movements in our core. So just letting it play. So we're coming now, when you're ready, coming onto your right side. Please feel free to use the blanket under your head or your arm. The first one we did was the undulation, so the cat-cow type of movement. And so I'm not going to use my legs to power me, but eventually they may want to move first. So think of your front of your body. Bring your front body forward on the inhalation, and you'll feel that little bit of shortening through the back body from your sacrum to the base of the head, even if you want to move the head. And then exhale, shorten the front body, make space in the back body. Head may or may not move. Inhalation is that back bending feeling. Exhalation is that primitive fetal curl. And if you forget what it feels like, or question if your body moves this way, you were just doing it on your backside in the beginning, right? Same movement we did on our backside, we're just laying on our side body now. Finding that same front to back movement. That piece of seaweed just floating in the water. Moving with the gentle tide, the waves. You can always stop. You could stop in more of the back bend. Feel the space through the front body and pause there. You can also stop in the fetal curl and even draw your knees in and round. Breathe into the back body. Check to see if anything's tightening. Try to give all the muscles to relax, especially when you decide to just take a peaceful pause. Let everything relax. All right, and we're going to get ready for the side movement, so the lateral bend. lateral flexion is what it's called for the spine. So think of the fish and how they swim through the water and their spine goes sideways. Visualize the space from your left armpit to your left hip. As you breathe in, you can lift that rib cage. Maybe place your hand on your left rib cage at first. Lift the rib cage up. So think of the air coming into your lung and lifting that lung up. And then your bottom ribs will lift too. So they'll be in an arch. And then exhale, gently press those bottom ribs into the earth and draw your left armpit towards your left hip. You can shorten that whole left side of your body. Arms and legs are relaxed. Make this a torso movement. There is the option of moving your head too. Just watch if you're lifting your head that it's comfortable for the sides of the neck. Otherwise the head can stay on the floor. Always the option to stop. You might stop and feel that whole left side body lifting. I like to take my hand overhead to create more space. Breathe into your left lung. And feel the tissues moving. Think of your organs. Breathing into your spleen, stomach. Creating space through your left side. Feel the support of that slight contraction through the right side. And then let go and land. You can take your hand down if you want to do the hold the other way. You can shorten, draw your left hip towards your armpit, like a shortening the waist. Hold that there. Head can stay on the floor, or the head's part of that if it's comfortable for your neck. Make sure your head's not way forward. Maybe we're getting it back a little bit. And then releasing back down. Take a moment there. Just land, and then we're going to be doing that rotation. And you can keep your hand on your hip. I tend to find that if I just sort of let my palm of my hand rest somewhere on my belly, it's just a reminder to keep the arm relaxed. I'm not coming into the twist from my arm. I'm coming into the twist to the rotation from my torso. Sense your left shoulder blade area and feel the length of the spine, tail to tongue. As you breathe in, start to slowly roll onto the right shoulder blade and then towards the left shoulder blade. You can let your head follow. Exhale, roll back. Feel the weight go back in the outer right shoulder. You can roll onto your forehead if that's appropriate. Inhale, rolling in to the rotation to the left. Exhaling, rolling into the rotation to the right. And if it doesn't work for you to do a breath center practice, you absolutely do not have to. So if it invites anxiety, then just let yourself roll and just split your awareness between breath and body. Remember the option to stop and be still. Feel yourself through your bones. Torso moving. And the shoulders and the hips respond. If you do want to take a hold, I like to hold these ones usually. You can just drop maybe into the rotation, breathe into that rotation. Even visualize that spiral shape of your spine. If you're dropped in one way, you can come back the other way. Rotate to the right, letting that left shoulder drop. And wherever you are coming out of that, perhaps you're still moving. So think now on this side, we had those 3 different movements. We had first the undulation. That's that fluid movement through the core of front to back. We had the lateral bend, so side to side, and the rotation. They're all juicy in their own right. So now play with putting those all together and close your eyes. Find your own way to explore this. Maybe just one motion keeps coming forward and the other 2 don't want to part. That's okay. Your head may or may not respond. Your arms and legs may want to play. That's up to you too. Initiate from your core. Fluidity from the core. You're just in that gentle wave. If you've ever seen like a piece of loose seaweed or something just being gently tossed in the water, not thrown around, but a soft tossing, that's you. And keep a smile on your face, softness on your skin on your face, your eyes relaxed. Exploring all the ways that your core can move. Please feel free to make noises. I'll make a few just because sometimes when you hear them, it gives you permission. And because it's really hard for me not to when I do this type of practice. If I wasn't on camera, boy, would it be loud. That's all part of this movement. It's making noises, satisfying noises. And then maybe when you're all done, come back into that fetal curl. You can draw your knees in towards your belly, your elbows towards your knees, and just round your back and spine. You can be still there. Just land to feel your bones of your body. Feel the earth holding the weight of your bones. Maybe being completely still or giving yourself just a gentle rocking motion. Okay. The next position is going to be on our stomach, and if you would like to go straight there, you can. If you do need to roll onto your back first, you can. So once you're on your stomach, you're going to take a moment just to so you should be able to feel your front body releasing. Let the weight of the pelvis fall into the floor. And it helps me if you jelly roll your legs back and forth, and then shift your hips side to side so you can feel the connection of the earth underneath the softness of your abdomen. And being still. So this becomes a torso movement if you let the legs be still and think of that lateral movement in your head. This is really hard for me with microphone because eventually I'm going to get up and move, but for now I'll set it there. So this lateral movement, like
You know, there's that army crawl, you know, when babies start to move and they do the like leg forward army crawl, right? We all did that at some point. It's like that, only feel it through your core. One side and the other, like you're army crawling. And your head can stay on the floor or respond. So there's a side to side. There's an up and down. And we're just going to explore these however you like. We're going to put them all together because sometimes one is more accessible than the other. You need one more than the other. So it can be this lateral movement, side to side, it's up. And then I also like with the up to make circles. It could be a full circle. It could be a half circle. And your arms might be there for support, but I'm not completely pushing into my arms. I'm using my core muscles. Head and neck respond. If you find you'd rather do it with your arms behind you, there's no problem in doing that too. You're swimming your shoulders. You can lift your belly off the ground. So it's definitely more grounding to stay on the belly. Let's all pause for a moment wherever you are and just land. Let yourself come back down onto the floor. Undulating has stopped for a moment. And we feel ourselves in stillness through the ground. It's always a good awareness point, feeling yourself from the ground. So with our front belly down, a couple of different options, things I'm going to give you to play with. So the first one is, if you're comfortable coming onto your knees and forearms, or it could be forearms or arms, you can play with front body, so then you can find those undulations. You're still front body down. You can do a side to side movement. This is one option, and I'm just going to give you all of these, and you're going to do what you want. This is like that. You're going to play, you're going to explore, so you might be up here, you might be here, moving fluid core. The other option is if you have the ball, there's a couple places we can take the ball. You can take it, and this is not full because that would be a lot, and you can decide how much air you want. It could go right underneath the center of your solar plexus. It could go right at your navel center. It can also go all the way down to the belly. So if you don't have the ball, this feels great anyhow. You can be on forearms if your wrists are happier. There's still that undulation of forward and back. There's the side to side movement. Head responds. We can even do a little rotation. But if you're using the ball, that all gets a little bit more supported because you can keep that ball there. And just roll on the ball. So you got to have enough air in the ball to do that. Make sure it's comfortable. If you just ate your breakfast or dinner, this is not going to be comfortable. So you're rolling around. And in doing this, again, it may seem really simple, but realize that you're using muscles in your core to make these movements that we might not usually move. Though they may seem gentle and very subtle, you're using muscles in your core. Head can be on the floor. Or sometimes what I do is I'll take a block if you have a block available, or a pillow underneath your head that gives you that head lift. Oh my gosh, and then really moving. It's generally not very comfortable to put the ball up on the chest, otherwise I would recommend that. But solar plexus should be good. And you can really feel yourself move from your rib cage, from the center of the thoracic spine. Anytime you need to, just stop and land, be still. And sometimes you'll feel like the energy will release. It wants to come out. Whenever we play with fluid core, there's energy being released.
And for me, I know it generally comes out my legs. So when I stopped just now, it's like I needed to shake out my legs. I needed to disperse that energy through my legs. So if you feel this desire to shake anything when you stop, let that happen. It's just your body's way of responding. If you're playing with the ball, you might try another position down at the navel center or all the way down onto the pubis. So then it becomes more of a low torso, low core hip movement, side to side. There's the back and forth undulation. Getting a nice noise here. So at this point, I hope that you've closed your eyes and you're really just exploring your own movement through your torso. You're not going to look like me. We could have everybody up on Zoom cameras right now and nobody's going to be moving the same. Everybody needs something a little bit different. And a lot of times we think we know what we need, but our brain doesn't know. Our mind doesn't know. Our body knows. So you got to step out of your way. That last position would be all the way down on the pubic bone. And that's a nice place to rock as well. Side to side, one hip could lift. It's like those crawls, those baby crawls with the hips. All core. Sometimes I try to imagine if I didn't have my arms and I was just moving from my torso. If I didn't have my legs and was moving from my torso, but then letting the periphery respond to the center of your core. All right. After this one, we will be coming to a seated pose just briefly. That's where you might want to bring a chair in. So if you want to go straight there, you can, but oftentimes it feels good to come into the child's pose. So if child's pose is comfortable for you, round your back. So this is that safety space, just as the fetal curl is. We protect that vulnerable front side of our body. Doesn't mean you have to be completely still. You could still rock your hip side to side, or rock your forehead into the floor, into your arms. Just feel that protection, the back side protecting your soft front side. And landing. Okay. So coming up to seated. If you'd like to do this in a chair, it's absolutely accessible from a chair. Couple different ways to sit. I would either recommend legs out in front of you if you're sitting that way, or my favorite way that I tend to get a little bit more movement through the spine, and I may turn sideways for a moment, is in what we call hero pose in yoga. So you can sit on a block or bolsters and you're on your shins. So your seated position where you can get a long neutral spine to start, just let the earlobes drop over the shoulders. And the shoulders fall over the hips and the diaphragm is right in between. And for some of you, it's the first time sitting up in the class. So take a moment, maybe drop into that diaphragmatic breathing. How does that feel for you? Is it rich? Is it comfortable? Feel yourself from your midline. So think of that center of your body from the earth. You can go all the way down into the core of the earth. We call that the Hara line. Imagine that Hara line from the core of the earth coming up through your body, giving you stability, and coming through the crown of the head,
all the way up into the cosmos. Connect yourself with that line, and then explore any lovely movements in and around that line. So it could be the undulation, the back and forth. So the same movements from the core, but it's just we've changed our position with gravity, right? Our relationship to gravity by sitting. We can do the back and forth. Inhale, I like to inhale into what we would call the cow pose or chest forward. Exhale. You also have every right to do a side bend, so that one you'll probably see better if I come here. Right, you can do a little side to side. You can do rotation. So maybe find those individually first, and then everything in between, right? Making circles. And you may feel this as the top of the spine and the bottom of the spine going in the same direction. So as the shoulders come forward, the hips come forward, and vice versa. Or you might do more of like a spinning top, feel your sit bones. Even if you're in that chair, and go in circles. So the majority of the movement is from the crown of your head, and you're feeling grounded through those sit bones. So it can be more of this funnel movement, and you can go both directions, or add to that funnel some fun movements. Sorry, that was bad. Funnel, funner, or I don't know. Make it enjoyable. Head, neck, shoulders, but notice it's not just, so a lot of times we have more mobility in our neck. This is our most mobile part of our spine, so we're doing just this head. And just check, if it's just your head floating around, maybe keep that slightly quiet. Don't lock it in, but keep your head quiet. Try to move from the ribcage. You can even place your hands on your ribs like we did when we were breathing, right? Try to move from your heart. I often think of organs. So what if right now I do all of these movements from my heart? And what does that feel like for you? To move from your heart, front and back of the heart. And then what does it feel like to move from your bladder? All right, now you're all gonna have to get up and go to the bathroom. No, move from your bladder. Is that different than moving from your heart? Do you move differently? Does your pattern of moving change? Pick any organ. What about that lovely liver on the right side? Where does that want to go? Hello, liver. Yes, I like to incorporate, because that's the torso, you know, the core holds all of these vital organs. And they want that movement, right? They need the movement. We're hydrating the tissues of our body just through movement. Move from your stomach and your spleen on the left. Pick an organ. So we've been more front-centered. Take your awareness into your kidneys, just up from your lumbar spine, and just above those, your lovely adrenal glands floating on your kidneys. And move from your kidneys. Hello, kidneys. And I'm doing this purposely too. I'm ending with the seated one, because you recognize that this is something we can so easily do in a chair, right? We've been all doing probably more sitting than we're used to. So sit upright, start with that grounding, the hara line, and then just let your body move away from that center line any way that feels good. From a seated position. Don't have to pull out all your stuff. If you're getting dizzy, feeling uncomfortable, we always just stop. We're still. One thing that helps is palms down is an act of grounding. So if your hands are up, take your palms down. You can even take fingers into the floor. Feel yourself through your bones and anything touching the earth. So we land and we ground, coming back to that space of peaceful pause. And we'll do one more seated movement as long as we're here. So pick an organ, pick a side of your body. It doesn't matter. I'm a big heart mover because I get really stuck. I have very limited mobility in my thoracic spine. So it's really nice to move from my heart and my ribs. And I recognize that it's going to be a smaller movement than head, neck, and shoulders, or even pelvis. But that's okay. It's not about the size of it. Can you move yourself from your heart? Maybe you want to move from your throat or the back of the throat. Think of where your tongue attaches. What does that feel like? Moving from the back of the throat. And does the lower body want to respond? Move from your tongue. So the mind is about the doors of sensory perception. So eyes, nose, mouth, ears. And we can move from those too, but today is about fluidity through the core. So I'm encouraging you to really take it down and move from those spaces in the core. You know, when we want to see something, we go, hey, what? And we move from our eyes, right? Or we want to speak to somebody. I'm over here. We turn to speak to them. So many times it's what's guiding us is our doors of perception into our movement. And that's good. We need to respond. But you don't need to respond to anything other than where does your core want to go right now? Where do your organs want to move? Let that lead you. Make any happy noises or groans. Fluid, supple, hydrated core. All right. We're going to be coming back down onto our backs to finish our practice. If you're sitting on your legs, it might feel good to extend them out. I'm going to invite you to use the ball one last time. If you don't have the ball, that's okay. You can still move your body. So we're coming onto the back side now. And in the very beginning on the back side, we did the arch and curl, and we did it more for strengthening to wake up those core muscles. But now it's not just the arch and curl. You can do a side bend, right? We've done those lateral bends. But I'm being careful not to reach with my arm. I want to use my core. I can also do a little rotation with the pelvis. But if you have the ball, and you can add in that arch and curl, if you have the ball, what's really nice is take the ball underneath your pelvis, the widest part of your pelvis, so not in the lumbar area, but below that, so your butt cheeks are just hanging off the edge of the ball, and you want to land first, make sure the ball's supporting you. If you're doing this, you're going to want to be in constructive rest because legs extended really pulls on the low back. So I would recommend feet on the floor. And then play with that fluid movement. And now watch you're not lifting yourself and holding yourself, right? Can you just fall into the ball? And this is going to encourage that movement from the lower end of the spine. And this is what we call in Chinese medicine, it's the lower dantian, which is our vital space. But it's also where our timing is kept for our body. How we balance ourselves is actually down here. It's not from our head. The messages are sent into the brain. So just feel that from a timing standpoint. Anytime you need to, stop and be still. So this is your practice at your pace. I hope we got that by now.
I know I needed to stop for a moment because when I'm talking to you and doing this, it's a whole different deal. I forget to stop and breathe and just be and not move. Other ways we can play with it, if you have the ball, and even if you don't have the ball, you can absolutely do this, but I love the ball, is lift one or both legs off the floor. And what you'll find is there's going to be a lot more core action, like contraction. You're going to feel your body, I need a little more air in there, you're going to feel your body catching you. So legs could come off the floor with or without the ball. So even if you're down here, you can take your legs off the floor, but you're still trying to move from your fluid center, from the core. I'm going to put a little more air in here for myself. So if you're on that ball, everybody's different on how much air you like. Just letting yourself roll. And your arms may want to swim. They can swim if they'd like. Still not, there we go. So what does it feel like to move from your reproductive organs? Think of all the way down inside the pelvis and that beautiful soft abdomen, which when you lift your feet up isn't quite so soft because it has to support you. Strong abdomen. And there is no limit. Don't put any limit on yourself. Take your last few breaths, just explore. When you feel like you're coming to a natural stopping point, wherever that is, sometimes I feel like this is like playing freeze tag. It's not somebody else or even my brain that says freeze. My body will just say, okay, freeze, stop. And even in that freeze, feel the fluidity of your breath. Your thoughts are always moving, right? Fluid thoughts, fluid breath. Always changing, transforming, vitalizing, purifying. It's all there in that moment of stillness. I'm going to invite you to come into your position for relaxation, wherever that may be today. I encourage you to let your fluid core be fully supported by the floor. If you like a blanket, pillow, or bolster underneath your knees to soften your low back, please feel free to do that. See if you can find that space in your core where body and breath meet. I call it the party. The breath having a party in your body. Where is that party? Can you just be present in that party? And it might be that it's a soft, small, quiet party. It could be a really loud party, all kinds of things coming forward. The space where breath and body meet in your core.
as best you can, hold your awareness in that space. So you can pick, and you can pick more than one. It may change as this relaxation goes on. So perhaps it's in the center of the solar plexus, and at some point it goes down to the base of the spine or the heart, or I don't want to guide you, I want you to be your own guide. Where do you feel breath and body meet? Feel the breath. Just throwing a party in your body. Wherever you feel that party, it's inviting all of the cells of your body. Your organs, your tissues, bone and muscle, connective tissue. From the center of your core, a vital energy flows out to all of the cells of your body. And there's no such thing as uninvited guests at the party. Everything is invited. Any sensations, any thoughts. We might notice them, then move on to the next conversation. Finding yourself again where body meets breath. Back in your space of core center. Even when we find feelings of discomfort, think of them as joyful discomfort. Invite them to the party. See what happens. And if today that particular party guest is still choosing to be crabby, that's okay. You can go find another conversation within your body. Come back to that center of body and breath. Do a walk around inside of your body. Right? Your body is your temple on wheels. Walk around that temple. See if there's any cells, any parts of your body that are missing the party you want to invite. Invite them with a smile, with the thought of gratitude from a space of unconditional love. As we get ready to come out of our relaxation, I always invite you to stay here longer if you'd like. Otherwise, we'll use the breath to awaken ourselves, just as we use the breath to awaken ourselves in the beginning. So see if you can find that diaphragmatic breathing. Allow your belly to find its full space of motion. Feel your ribs move, the chest and the lungs. Not just the front body, but the sides, the back, all the way around the whole core. If you know you'd prefer to come up to a seated position, maybe take that full body stretch or hug your knees into your chest and just do some light little core dances before you come back up. And just notice how you feel. My favorite quote that goes through my head probably 50% of the times I finish my yoga practice is Maya Angelou. People won't remember what you said or did, they'll remember how you made them feel. That's our practice. That's our relationship to our practice. And that's our body. Your body doesn't remember what you said to yourself or what you did or didn't do. It remembers how it feels. See how you feel. Remember how you feel. If you'd like, you can take your hands to the center of the heart. Thank you for practicing fluid core with me today. Keep moving. Keep enjoying. Keep spreading love and light and peace. Namaste.